Do you have too much stress in your life and you are looking for some peace and calm? Do you feel like your whole life is just one big anxious experience and you're wondering, hold up, how can I change this? Because I think there has to be a better way than this. If that's you, then you're in the right place. I am Anna Wickham, and I help you create a radiant life through passion, purpose, and peace. And today we're going to talk about 6 different tools that you can implement into your life to experience peace and calm instead of stress and anxiety. Now, there are plenty of guided meditations on YouTube where you might experience some temporary relief from stress, and I love guided meditation so much. Today, however, we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about some long-term changes, some lifestyle changes, and some mindset shifts that are going to help us create long-term peace and calm. So instead of we have a high stress level and then maybe we dip for a while, but then you're just going to go right back to life, right back to what got us here. Whereas instead today, we might not have such a severe dip, but we're going to go down, and you're going to really, if you implement these steps, you're going to see long-term changes so that you may not need as much of an SOS stress reset. So if that sounds good, let's get started. So the first tip I have for you today is to create more space in your life. I would venture to say that 80+% of people have too many things going on. You can burn some sage, you can do a meditation every day, but if your life is packed with too much stuff, then your stress level is probably not going to change. Now, I know you're thinking there is no room to budge in this area. I have tried this and there's nothing I can get rid of. I totally understand that feeling. I have been there myself. But if you're listening to the sound of my voice, then you are ready for some serious change in your life. You think enough is enough and I can't go on living like this. And if you're in that place, then here are some ideas I have to help create that space in your life. 1, consider looking at things that you are doing that are not necessarily your responsibility. This is setting some boundaries around some of the things that are on your plate. Step back, take an objective look. Is there anything there that actually should never have been there in the first place? It's someone else's responsibility and you took it on at some point and it's just been there for years. For example, it could be some task at work that's actually not yours. Or it could be some role in your family that someone else might actually enjoy doing more than you. So look for things like that. The second thing is look for things that once served you, but they no longer serve you. It's so surprising to me, even in my own life, there was a commitment that I had recently that I stepped back because I was feeling overwhelmed and stressed. And I thought, how did this even get here? And I realized that at the time I added it to my life, it was a great addition that I wanted there intentionally. But now it's 4 years later and it's still there just because I've always done it. So I just keep doing it. And I looked at it and I thought, this no longer serves where I am in my life today. And so I took the steps I needed to actually get it off of my list. And it created that space in my life that just gave me room to breathe. Next, what are the things that are on your list that you just really don't like doing? Maybe there's some kind of solution for that, and that will create more space in your life too. So, for example, if you really don't like cleaning, consider getting a house cleaner. And I know that's not an option for everyone, but what if your sister lives down the street, she really hates cooking, you really hate cleaning, you guys can trade tasks. Or maybe you can't afford a house cleaner every week or every 2 weeks or even every month. But what would it look like if you hired someone to do a deep clean 2 to 4 times a year? Would that take some weight off your shoulders? I know we're often quick to decide that, oh, this is not possible. Instead, I'd invite you to open up your innate resourcefulness by asking, how could this be possible? What if this was possible? What would it take for this to be possible? Maybe there's some other item that you can live without in favor of this. You might think, oh, I can't afford this, but our state of mind is so important that maybe you can't afford not to do this. Our state of mind is what we reflect out into the world. It's how we respond to our kids. It's how we respond to our spouse. It's how we respond to our boss and our coworker. When we protect that bubble and we decide that we are worth making ourselves a priority, that can create a positive ripple effect in your own life. How do you know when you're done cutting tasks? Feel in your body. So close your eyes. How does your body feel? Do you still feel that frantic energy? Do you still feel anxious? If so, there's probably some more to cut. I call this extreme cutting. So extreme cutting from your life. And don't worry about, oh, well, so-and-so can handle this, or, oh, my friend does twice as much as I do. Who cares what your friend does? This is about you. This is about your life and managing your stress level. So I'd like to invite you just to keep your eye on that and pay attention to how it feels for you. Also, beware that the body likes what's familiar. So if you've been experiencing stress for a long time and you've been in this go, go, go mentality and you just haven't had time to even stop and think, sometimes there's a reason why we are so busy. We pack our calendar full of stuff so we don't have time to think. So we don't have time to sit down and feel what might actually be coming up for us. So beware of a feeling of having an urge to fill that empty space with more stuff. And that can come from just us being unfamiliar with all of this open space in our lives. Tip number 2, accept your feelings. So I already alluded to this a little bit. And that is, if you create more space in your life than you've been used to, you may, while you're sitting there on your couch with a little bit of free time that you haven't had in a long time, you might have some feelings come up. And maybe even your calendar was so packed because it helped you distract yourself from some of those feelings. It could be old grief left over from a death of a loved one years ago that you have been too busy to feel. That may come up at this time. You may feel frustration about where you are in your life and how things are different than what you expected. All kinds of things. I'm not saying those things will come up, but whatever you may have been suppressing can come up during this time. And I promise you, once you let those feelings arise and acknowledge them instead of, oh no, feelings, push it down, let me go do something so I don't have to think about this. If you let those feelings express themselves naturally, it won't be that way all the time. They will express themselves and they'll be out of your system. But if you do suppress them, then they will continue to be there, creating that feeling of anxiety in your body, even after you've eliminated many of the sources of stress. So I did a video on this and I'm going to drop the link in the box below so you can check that out if you're interested in, oh no, some feelings are coming up for me. What do I do? That is a very detailed video on that, so check that out. Number 3, accept what is. So not only are we then going to accept our feelings, but we're also going to accept our circumstances, the things that are outside of us, the things that are outside of our control, the situations that we wish were not that way, the things that other people are doing that we wish they weren't doing, or we wish they weren't making that decision for their life. And that's another thing that often comes up, and one thing that busyness can help us not think about all these circumstances that we wish were different, or this relationship that's not going well, or even this particular outcome that's happening. If we want to experience relief from stress, then we have to let go of our resistance to how things are. That doesn't mean that you don't change the things that you can. It's like the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So this is after you've changed the things that you can, and then accept the things I cannot change. When we're in a state of resistance against the way things are, things that we can't control, then it creates a lot of tension in our bodies as our bodies and our minds try to change that situation, but there's nothing we can do to change it. In many cases, we're powerless to that. Stillness and white space in our lives often means coming to terms with the way things are, that maybe my life does not look the way that I expected it to, and that's okay. Learning to make peace with how things are and realizing that even though things may not be the way we wish they were, we can accept and be at peace with the way things are now. Number 4, accept that there is a plan greater than ours. One aspect of having peace and calm on a daily basis is trust. Trust that there is some power up there, whether you call it God or Jesus or Source, the universe, whatever you call it. There is a power greater than ourselves that has a plan that's better than our plan. Coming from an ex-atheist, this is saying a lot. So I totally understand if you're not in that place or you don't have that trust in a higher power. I know exactly how you feel. I started out not trusting anyone and not trusting anything to work out unless I was in charge of it. Because I didn't believe in God, I didn't believe in a higher power, and so if I wanted things to go to plan, then it was all up to me. And that put an enormous amount of pressure on me to fix everything. It actually ultimately put me in the position of God, trying to fix everything, trying to make sure everything worked out exactly the way that I wanted it to, or at least according to my plan. That pressure is too much for us to take, and it ultimately resulted in me having a problematic relationship with alcohol to cope with that pressure of holding everything together all the time. I actually recently did a video on that because I am recently 6 years sober, so I will drop that in the description box as well if you're interested. A belief in higher power and a trust that everything will work out, even if we don't understand what's going on now, that is the space that fills in between what we have control over and what we know in our plan and how things ultimately end up. That space between is covered by trust. And if we don't have that trust, we're going to often be really stressed out because we're going to feel like it's all up to us to make everything turn out. And along with this comes a letting go of the outcome. Things are going to work out. They may not work out exactly the way we want them to, but if we want to live a life that's stress-free and calm, then we have to be willing to let go of that, because it's not ultimately in our control, but it is in the control of our higher power. Number 5, come back to the body. You may have noticed in this video that I'm often touching my chest here, and I think I'm doing that because this is where I feel a lot of my stress and anxiety. I always feel it in my chest and in my throat. That's not the same for everybody. So I would actually ask you right now, close your eyes and feel into your body and ask yourself, where do I feel stress? You might feel it in your head in the form of tension, or you might feel it in your back, or you might even feel it in your gut. When we are stressed, we're holding on to things because we are not willing to trust and let go and trust that things are going to work out. And when we have that tension, it lives in our body somewhere. So oftentimes when I'm really stressed, I usually touch my chest because I know that's where I feel anxiety and stress, and I send healing and calm into that space. And I also let that tension be a thermometer, a barometer, I guess, of how much I'm trusting, how much I'm taking care of myself. Is my schedule cleared, or is it packed with too much stuff? Maybe that's why I'm feeling stressed. Or am I not trusting that things are going to work out even if it doesn't go according to my plan? Feel into your body, because that's where our emotions live. That will help you stay regulated. After getting regulated, we constantly have to check in with ourselves. Hold on, how's my body feeling? Am I feeling stress and tension? What does my body need? What does my mind need to relieve some of that stress? Number 6, ask your higher power to fill you with peace and love. Now, let me explain because I know that sounds really abstract. I regularly do a meditation, and we'll just kind of do a little mini meditation right now where I visualize myself as a silhouette, like just the outline of me, and my higher power is taking a picture, like a picture of water, and just filling me from starting from my toes through my feet and ankles and my shins and my knees and my hips and my waist, all the way up to my shoulders and the top of my head, filling me with peace and love. This requires that before I do that I have emptied my body of my plans, my agenda, the outcomes that I wish were happening in my life and this situation, and I need to do this and I need to do that. If we can take a breath, release those things we feel like we need to do, and have even the slightest bit, very small amount of trust that, hey, maybe things will be okay, even if I'm not controlling them. And then ask your higher power to fill you up like a tall human-shaped glass of water, fill you up with peace and love. And if you meditate on that visualization for just a few minutes, it can be enough to replace those feelings of anxiety and stress and fear with peace, with love, with trust. And if we want to live a life that has lower stress and has regular calm, then we have to be willing to surrender and be filled with peace and love. And the beautiful thing that happens when we do that is that we become that healing balm to other people. When we become centered and we release those things that we're focused on, and we trust our higher power to take care of it and let him or her fill us full of love and peace, we become like a radiant light, almost like one of those salt lamps, where wherever we go, we're like a healing radiance. And that's when we'll have people say, just being around you just makes me feel calm. Imagine being so calm and stress-free that just by being around other people, you can lower their stress levels. Just like stress and anxiety is contagious, so is peace and calm. Peace is a practice. We will probably never get to a point where we're just like, just totally zen all the time. It doesn't matter what happens in our life. We're never going to get caught up in chaos. It just means we keep coming back. Okay, I got carried away with some chaos. I'm coming back. I had a really stressful week at work. Keep coming back. Had a personal life crisis. Keep coming back. It takes time. It takes practice, and it's of course going to be impacted by what circumstances are going on in your life. But don't be hard on yourself. We're never just there. It's like, oh, my stress levels are down and now I'm done with that and I can move on to something else. It's something that I constantly come back to in my life of, oh, hold on, bring it back. Bring it back to me. Where am I at? How am I feeling? Trusting my higher power. Okay, I'm back. And then something else gets me later. Okay, gotta bring it back. It's a practice that we will be working on for the rest of our lives, and that's okay. With these 6 tips, I hope that helps you have more peace and calm in your life.